think that healing is only something that we do in doing a sound bath or a breathwork session. No, healing happens when we take inspired action that's inspirational and are courageous to work through the resistance that arises.
Welcome to the Path to Purpose podcast, where I share incredible conversations with amazing humans who went through a pivotal shift in their lives that have put them on their path of purpose, profit, and impact. My name's Zarak Fatah. I'm a serial entrepreneur and life coach. I went through my own transformational journey where I'm now committed to living a life of inspiration, education, and empowerment. My intention is to share these conversations so they inspire you to also walk your path to purpose. Good to have you here, my friend. Thank you for joining me.
Honored to be here, brother.
And I'm excited for this podcast for a couple of reasons. One, you're here in Oaxaca, and we get to share your journey and how we met. And also, we're shooting the very first podcast in my home office studio. So I'm super excited to have you as my first guest here.
I'm honored.
In the home studio. So Peter and I, we've known each other for, I guess it was 2019 New Year's Eve we met, yeah? We met in Oaxaca, Mexico at the Restival Festival, which is no longer, but it was an amazing experience. And that's where you and I got to really meet and just connect for the first time. And we had that very special experience that for me is still so vivid in my mind, because that guided meditation that you led me through on New Year's Day, January 1st, 2019, really helped me to envision what my life could look like and the future that I was calling in. And I can close my eyes and go right back to that moment. We were walking in that field. I was walking with my eyes closed. You were guiding me. You were asking me to visualize my life, looking at it from the view of the hawk above. And I could see my home and my wife and my two kids playing in the pool. And in that moment, I could see it. I could feel it. Like I just knew it was real. And when we got to that future self, meeting my future self part of the meditation, as I got closer and closer to the future self that I was walking towards, I literally felt us merge, and I could feel the energy of that version of myself who has everything that I dream of and desire. So it was a powerful experience for me. And I was part of your first Future Self Incubator program, which was amazing. And it's all helped play a part in this amazing life that I've manifested. And that's why I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, because what you offer, the work that you do, really, really helps people to get clear on what is the future that they want, and helps them to connect to that version of them that maybe they haven't been able to really feel into yet, but through your process, you make it very real. And that's why I think it's super powerful. I'm excited for you to share your story of how you developed the Future Self program. What is the journey you've been on that took you from your old life and your own career, and the pivot that had you now living, embodying, sharing your purpose with the world. So I'm excited to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. And who was Peter Opperman before you were taking people, transporting them to the future timeline of their lives?
Yeah. Thank you, Zach. Real pleasure to be here and share this journey and the story with you. And I also deeply appreciate our journey together as friends, brothers, and on this planet to wake up people, inspire people. And I deeply respect the work that you do. Thank you for that. Yeah, who's Peter Opperman? So it's been a real arc, a life journey for me. I started out in Germany as a mechanical engineer with the intention to bring technology to humanity, solve our biggest pressing problems that we have with the help of technology. That's what I was good at the time. Then I got deeply frustrated with the world of engineering, found it too limiting for my aspirations, actually went through my own dark night of the soul, completed my engineering degree, and then said, I cannot continue this anymore. And then through discovering a deeper human technology, mindfulness meditation, Vipassana at the time, I said, wow, that's actually the technology that we already have at our disposal. We just need to learn how to make use of it. And then I decided, how can I focus my life around mindfulness and actually monetize mindfulness? It sounds terrible, but how can I actually make a living being mindful without moving into a monastery? And that's how I launched my furniture business, doing mindful furniture, Japanese designed shoji screens.
Okay.
And that became a successful business, bringing peace into people's interior spaces, more into their built spaces. And then my next iteration was when I felt, well, this career has outgrown. Then I went into the space of leading meditations, becoming a life coach myself, moving to Los Angeles, where I then founded the Future Self Institute. And now I call myself a transformational engineer, from mechanical to transformational engineering, helping groups and individuals to have transformational experiences to live the life of their dreams.
Amazing. Super inspiring to know your story and to see the shift that you made. And, the question I have for you is like, when you were, because you had a great job, stable, I'm sure it paid well. Like, you didn't have to leave that career. You were in a comfortable place. Was there a certain incident that happened, or what was the catalyst that had you just realize, like, I can't do this anymore. It's not what I want. And what was that process like of you leaving something that you've done for a long time, something that you're good at and getting paid well, to venture into something completely new? Because I know there's a lot of people watching who, they don't love their job, but their job is secure. But inside them, they know this isn't what I want to do, but they're afraid to take that leap. They're afraid to walk away from something stable and secure and step into the unknown. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. Like, what was the catalyst and how did you find the courage to really make that leap?
Yeah, great question. And indeed, I mean, I've gone through several of these almost like death rebirth experiences, like shedding one's skin, shedding one's old identity. And it's hard every time. It's like taking that leap of faith, taking a step into the abyss and not knowing what's on the other side. And our whole nervous system is wired to respond with deep fear in the presence of uncertainty. So I deeply empathize with anyone who's struggling with making these changes. For me personally, it was my late 20s, and for me that was a deep existential crisis. I actually went into a temporary depression and felt this is not my path. I cannot look into the mirror in the morning and say, I stand behind who I am as a man. And I was always very purpose-driven. And when I said this is no longer my purpose and not knowing what my new purpose could be, it was just this inner emptiness. And then I started to compare myself with other people who I admired at the time when I went into the transformational field, exploring breath work and meditation. Said, one day I want to be one of them. That's when I felt most alive. But it just, the sense of feeling lost, the sense of I have a deep inner calling, and what I'm currently doing is not in service of that, was just no longer tenable for me. That and then I actually took a 3-month break and went to Sri Lanka for a longer meditation retreat. And during that time, I had this clear voice telling me in my head again and again, Peter, you have to follow the voice of your heart. Follow the voice of your heart. Follow the path with heart. Ultimately, it's a path of love. And okay, fuck it. I'm going to try that out when I come back. And that's magically when doors opened up. Friends who picked us up from the airport said, Peter, do you have some time? I need my photography studio built out. And then, sure, of course. So then obviously a new career in the space of furniture design opened up. And it just naturally felt like a signpost of the universe to try it out. And then just one thing evolved and unfolded from there on.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And I believe that we all always have the answer within us. We know our own truth, but we need to leave our current environment, our current situation, and just take a step away to allow that clarity to come through. And for you, it was 3 months in Sri Lanka. For some people, it's going on a retreat or coming down here to Nosara for a month, or just taking time away from the city, getting into nature, and just allowing what's there to come up. Because our highest self, our soul, is always trying to speak to us. But when we're so busy on our phones, it's so busy rushing around the city, going from meeting to meeting, we don't leave space for those messages to come through.
Absolutely. And a lot of what's holding us back is our sense of identity.
Yes.
And I remember I had, going through engineering school for so many years and coming from a family where everybody was either a lawyer, doctor, or engineer, it felt almost impossible to break free from that and to really reinvent my own identity. Even though, as you said, we have that inner voice always inside of us speaking to us, but it's so difficult to listen to that when it's not in alignment with who we were taught we are.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that about identity, because for me, that was my biggest challenge of leaving Toronto, being Zark, the nightclub guy of 25 years, to moving to Costa Rica and embodying this new lifestyle and really starting all over again, getting into the retreat business. And then as a coach, because for me, it was like, well, if I'm not Zark, the nightclub guy anymore, then who am I? And that's where I feel a lot of people get stuck. They're so, they think their identity is who they are, but their identity is just a role that they play. It's just who they have become to fulfill who they think they need to be in the world, right? And unraveling that identity, and which means often letting go of certain friends, certain environments, certain habits and behaviors, can be extremely disruptive. But when you unravel that identity, you go back and now you're a clean slate and you can become anything from that place. But it is scary and it can be very disruptive because a lot of people won't understand. Like, what do you mean you're leaving engineering to go design furniture? Like, what are you talking about? Not everybody's going to understand that, but that's when we need the courage and to trust. What I really got from what you shared was you came back with this trust and this belief in yourself that you have a higher calling, and you're going to step into the unknown, just trusting the universe is going to guide you.
Yeah.
And I can relate. I did the same when I decided to close my restaurant and move here as well. Now, you mentioned that you've gone through several deaths and rebirths and, transitions and pivots along the way. So walk me through the timeline of being through engineer, then a furniture designer, and then what was next and next and next that really, brought you to the place in Oaxaca when we met.
Yeah, absolutely. So this process of, dying to who we think we are in order to become who we are, this kind of death rebirth process may sound very dramatic for some listeners, but ultimately it is that shedding of old layers that no longer really work for us, that we may have been conditioned by society, parents, etc. So the first shedding happened, as we talked about, when I left my engineering career and built a career built around mindfulness and building furniture that was made with a lot of attention, and that allowed me the freedom to also travel the world and study with some of the best teachers in the space of mindfulness, going on silent retreats up to 3 months in silence to really immerse myself in the space of mindfulness and tap into moments of emptiness and seeing, wow, that's really our full potential. And during that time, the desire to be of service of the awakening of other people really became very, very strong. Then my career path led me to New York City, where I felt this furniture business is no longer really satisfying the totality of my being. I was actually feeling that I was hiding behind the screens that I was making.
Okay.
And instead of bringing peace to physical spaces, I felt called to bring peace to inner spaces, to the mental space. During that time, I started to launch a social enterprise called Karma Builders, applying the principles of karma and emptiness in business as a source of success by helping other people, in this case, formerly incarcerated men and women, on their difficult journey from where they were back into society. So that was a deeply rewarding experience. I learned a lot. But I still wasn't quite fully on my path, and it literally took a giant ocean wave on the Hamptons, where I was an awkward attempt to surf, knocked me off my board, broke my right shoulder, and the moment it happened, I knew this was the universe telling me, Peter, stop what you're doing and really do what you came here to do. So that was my pivot then from New York City to Los Angeles, where I said, okay, now here's an opportunity to really start fresh and to completely reimagine myself, redesign who Peter is. And I always dreamt to be a transformational guide, a coach, a meditation teacher. So I said, okay, I was in my early 40s, my opportunity to really start what I'm doing now. Fortunately, during that time, the mindfulness wave really became something of a mainstream where you could make a living as a coach and mindfulness teacher. So that career started to take off. And then that's also the time when I discovered the future self approach. It's an interesting story. We can maybe speak about that, how that came to be, because it was discovered by accident. But then I felt, okay, this one-on-one work is beautiful, but how can I reach more people? Because I have this desire to help and serve humanity in this difficult transformational time that we are in, this pivotal time. And that's where I came up with the idea to start the Future Self Institute, an organization that's really here to bring this understanding of nonlinear time and how we can literally walk into possible futures and then walk from the future back into the present and live our lives inspired by the future instead of repeating patterns of the past. So that's what I'm doing now to evangelize this method and help people from around the world. At this point, I've introduced over 10,000 people to their future self, both in live and online experiences, and worked with hundreds of people in these more dedicated 8-week transformational containers. And now the latest expression is to support entrepreneurs, so-called futurepreneurs, who want to use their business skills to be part of the regenerative revolution and create a more functional, beautiful, compassionate world that works for everyone.
Yeah, beautiful. And I was fortunate to be a part of the Futurepreneur talk workshop that you led here in Nosara at the Vive Festival a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, it was a packed house, and you could see everybody was so interested in understanding what's a futurepreneur. So what I'd like you to expand on is, for people who are maybe not so familiar with the concept that time is not linear and that all times exist at the same time, and that there is a future version of us that also exists now, and we have the ability to connect with that future self. I'd like you to expand on that because, obviously the work that we've done together, as well as, the work that I've done, whether it be going to Joe Dispenza retreats or just, having those future self moments myself in meditation and breath work. If you can explain what that means about tapping into that future self and the multiple timelines that exist, because, it is somewhat of a progressive concept, I'd say, that maybe not everybody's familiar with. However, once you realize that all time exists at the same time, then you realize that, well, what am I rushing for? And why do I need to worry about time if time is really just a man-made structure and doesn't actually work the way we've been told time works?
Yeah. Oh, Zach, that's a whole, like a wormhole we can open up here. How can we put this simply? So it's not fortune telling, clearly. It's not about predicting the future, because the future is a field of infinite possibilities. And through our actions and choices that we do now, we can increase the likelihood for certain futures to come forward. The core hack really about thinking about nonlinear time is one free miracle, so to speak. And the free miracle is that the assumption that we live in a multi-dimensional universe. Traditional Western science teaches us that there are 3 dimensions and maybe a 4th one called time. But that's it. That's what we can measure and perceive with our 5 senses. However, both ancient wisdom traditions as well as modern quantum science proves that we actually live in a non-linear environment where there are multiple dimensions beyond the 3rd and the 4th dimension. In string theory, they postulate we have 17 dimensions. Okay. So all we need are 5 dimensions. And once we assume that, and there's lots of evidence, both empirically as well as theoretical, that that's the case, so many opportunities open up for us. And one of them is the nonlinear nature of time. Because once we are above the 4th dimension, every higher dimension includes all the dimensions below of time and space.
Yeah.
So once we lean into that fifth dimension and we are part of the universe, so our consciousness is also able to lean into the fifth dimension and beyond, then we are also able to lean into anywhere in time and space. Past, present, and future all become accessible to us. While we still operate in this linear three-dimensional world, and we made an appointment to have this conversation today, right? It's helpful to have the time and to know where you live so we can meet and have this transformation experience. So it's beautiful to live in a three-dimensional world, but it's just one aspect of reality. So once we open ourselves up to the field of infinite possibilities and nonlinear time, consciously, we can free ourselves from the imprisonment, from the shackles of just having the past as a reference point. Equally, we can pivot to possible future and use that as a reference point. And then literally can walk, meet our future selves. It just takes a little bit of an art form, and that's what I've specialized in, that's what I train people in, to lead people into a state of a possible future, meeting their future self, and not just visualize it mentally, but to embody it. You can literally feel physically, somatically, emotionally, energetically, mentally, spiritually, what it's like to be the future you. You can basically take a shower of the future, see how good that feels. Everybody loves meeting their future self because it comes through as our highest future potential. So then we feel the impact on our nervous system, and then we can walk from the future back into the present, and then learn how to act, speak, think, execute, build businesses from that place, inspired by the future. And that's the power, because then we are in full alignment with our full potential. We are no longer dependent on outside gurus, teachers, coaches, etc., experts, because we have our future self as our inner North Star, as an inner compass inside of us, including the feeling state. And then just learn how to translate that feeling state into consistent daily inspired actions. And that's how rapid transformation happens.
Boom, there it is, the secret sauce. And, most people, they sabotage and they don't take action because they're operating from the program of their past self, from the past experiences, the past failures, the times that they were told you're stupid, you're not good enough, you don't know how to do it. So they're operating on that program. And that's why they can't see their future. They can't feel into it. However, when you're able to lead people through a process that has them in that hypnotic meditative state where they can visualize their highest self, their fullest expression of who they can be, and they connect with that future version, they're receiving the codes, they're receiving the programming of the future self that overrides the negative programming from the past. At least in my experience in doing your meditation and, visualization and feeling into the future that I want to create. Because when you feel those emotions of joy and bliss and gratitude and you're inspired, that's what gives you the motivation. That's what gives you the clarity on what is the life that you're creating, because you've already tasted it, because you've already felt it. Our mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. When we close our eyes and we feel into something, our body, as you said, somatically responds. So when we start tapping into that future version of us that has the wife and the kids and the beautiful career and all the things that we aspire to have, our body already starts to physiologically respond and change into that future version because we're feeling it already. And that's why it's so important that, affirmations and all positive visualization, all that's great, but your process really gets people to embody that, who they get to be and how they'll feel when they connect to that future self moment. So, for those who are interested and want to know more about what does that process look like? How do you take someone, especially for someone who maybe doesn't meditate or someone who's maybe not so familiar with this whole concept of jumping timelines and tapping into future self? If someone has never done this work before, what is the process that you take them through that has them connect to this future self, and the different tools and modalities that they could use to to really like tap into that future self who's achieved all that they desire?
Yeah, thank you for that. So that's really where it becomes more of a science, and we develop a future self method, including a tool called the Future Self Compass, which is based on some very, very old, beautiful teachings that lean back into the world of alchemy, etc., including science. So it's a 4-step process, ultimately. The first step is to really step into the here and the now, into the present time, because that's the only moment where we can actually have the freedom of choice, so we can break old patterns, where we can make new choices consistently that are in alignment with our destiny. And that can only happen when we are fully present. And in the present moment is also the moment where we can start to develop what we truly desire, what our dreams are, right? That our present moment allows us also to imagine something that's different from the present reality. So that's the starting point. We're always starting in the now. But then instead of going straight into possible futures, we want to first kind of clean our windshield, to have a clean vision, a beautiful, a heart-centered vision that's coming from wisdom and inspiration, instead of a vision that's governed by our ego needs. If I had X, Y, Z, then I would feel better. Doesn't work like that. So we first actually, instead of going straight into the future, we make a sharp left into the past and meet our inner shadow. It's equally important to meet our past self, which is exactly what you spoke, is those old conditions, what we were told growing up in this society, in our families, in our culture, in our ancestral lineage. We all hold tremendous programming, and a lot of this program we can be grateful for because it brought us here, but a lot of the program is also very limited, carries a lot of bias, a lot of prejudice, and a lot of limitations. That we live in a world of scarcity, that we are not lovable, not good enough, there's something wrong with me, I have to prove myself, need the approval of others. The list goes on and on. We all carry those programs. So it's very important to first identify those, where they sit in my own life and how I'm actually still running my life from these old programs. So this deep inner work is extremely necessary to kind of peel off that mask that we are all wearing, that's actually ultimately coming from a fear-based state, and it's actually quite painful if we are honest with ourselves. And it's part of our shared humanity to acknowledge how our vulnerability, our traumas, to be trauma-informed about ourselves and others. So it's super important to first have this honest look in the mirror. For that, we need guides and experts to be guided into these spaces, into the past. However, once that's kind of completed to a certain degree, instead of being forever stuck in this healing maelstrom, so to speak, then we want to elevate and connect with our future self. Because then we have the freedom, the compassion to actually see, okay, this is who I choose to be. If I claim myself as a free, sovereign human being, who do I choose to be? That's where the future self comes forward as this beautiful avatar that's here to guide us, that we can then merge and then energetically connect with when we walk into the future, get super clear of why am I here, what's my destiny, what's my dharma, my purpose in life, what really matters. And almost everybody I speak to, like on a one-on-one basis, at the end of the day, it's all about giving and receiving love, right? And leaving this planet more beautiful than we found it for future generations. Everything else is decor.
Yeah.
So once that's clear, that's step 3, to first in the present, then honoring the past, then pivoting into the future. And then the very important part happens, and that may be the most difficult part, And that's where a lot of people from, let's say, the yoga mindfulness movement struggle, is how do I take skillful action that's inspired by the future instead of a repetition from the past, which is our normal go-to mechanism. So how do I actually act, willfully direct my intentional actions, that they are a pure expression of the future, my highest knowing, my highest potential. And for there, we have a whole toolkit of tools and methods. Actually, AI is coming in very strong, because AI is this wonderful hack to instantaneously visualize our internal visions of the future into communicatable works of art, memes, even whole pitch decks. You can basically build a pitch deck of your future business, your future dream life in record time with the help of AI imaging and copywriting tools. So we are kind of doing deep research to accelerate that path. But ultimately, it's about how can I build a prototype, something intentionally imperfect, but that carries the code, the frequency, the truth, the emotional charge of my future self, and build something, go into action, whether that's building a business, going after your dream career, your dream relationship, where you want to live. Take action. It's not just about sitting on the meditation room and blissing out on possible future. It's equally important to bring in the masculine directional power of leadership and action that's in service of something that's bigger than ourselves. And that's where most people struggle with, because there is an kind of an underlying, an undertow, almost like a rip current, that's trying to pull us back, and it's called resistance. There are many books written about this, The War of Art being one of them. And because it brings up all of our shadow material, because we are shifting our internal dynamics, and everything that has held us back in the past is trying to keep us stuck, basically. So we are being confronted with all our inner limiting beliefs, inner demons, once we start to break free and live the life inspired by our future self. So that's why it's very important to be, A, prepared for the resistance to come up, and then B, to have a support system, to be safely guided and encouraged to keep going, and have tools, methods at our disposal how to work skillfully with resistance. And the last point is that by taking action and working with resistance is actually freeing us from all of these inner resistances. So action is healing. You know, it's often overlooked. We think that healing is only something that we do in doing a sound bath or a breathwork session. No, healing happens when we take inspired action that's inspirational and are courageous to work through the resistance that arises.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, it is a very powerful process that I can personally attest to. You know, has worked for me. I know it's worked for Andrew from Tomorrow Today, and you know, the hundreds and thousands of people that you've guided through the process. And you touched on something that is super, I think, relevant and important for people who are wondering. You know, they're in the inquiry of what could be next, and that is purpose and being of service to others. Because yes, you will face resistance and you will face fear, and you know, times you're going to ask, like, am I fucking crazy? What am I doing here? You know, and it is who we get to be, how we get to serve and show up for others, that really gives us the courage and the push that I believe is needed when we are about to make a monumental change in life. And, you know, for people who are considering a big shift, as you were when you were an engineer, and knowing that there was something else, even though furniture wasn't it, it's what at least allowed you to have your creative expression. And I feel that for people who have, you know, they've kind of climbed their first mountain, they've achieved whatever it is they set out to, and then they're feeling that, this is it, this can't be it, like there's got to be more, and they're feeling unfulfilled. It's usually because they've fulfilled their outer purpose of achieving the accomplishments, acquiring the possessions, the status, whatever it is that they're going after. And after they've achieved their outer purpose, they're looking for their inner purpose. And that inner purpose is when we can be of service to others, because our inner service actually has nothing to do with us. Our inner purpose has nothing to do with us. It's how we get to be of service to others. And it's when you're willing to go out of your comfort zone and try new things and just follow your gut and your instinct that you get to try new things. You tried the furniture, and even though the furniture wasn't it, it led you to something else, which led you to something else, and now here you are. So the shift is not going to be immediate. You're not going to find out exactly what it is right away, but you have to at least be willing to start. You have to be willing to try something new, to step out of the realm of familiarity and have trust and the courage to try something new and just put yourself out there. And when you tune into what your purpose is, what your real gift is, and why you're here during this lifetime, that's when everything changes. And I know for some people who are watching this, maybe you haven't found your purpose yet. Maybe, you're still in the wonder of like, why am I here? And what is there for me to offer the world during this lifetime? When you find your purpose, life completely changes. You live with this feeling of fulfillment and joy and meaningfulness that you just don't get when you're doing a job you don't love, So I feel that purpose and being of service is really the greatest motivator and the biggest catalyst for change when you are searching for what's next, knowing that there's something greater out there for you. And when people tap into their future self, as you said, it's about how do they get to give back? Who do they get to support? And, most importantly, who do they get to be, for others in that future timeline? And that's what's helped me get through the resistance. Anytime I feel unmotivated, I'm procrastinating, I start to self-doubt myself, I remember and get present to the impact I'm making with my clients, the massive shifts that happen during my retreats, the amazing, inspiring conversations I have with people. And that's what gives me the fire and the motivation to like shake off that procrastination, shake off the limiting beliefs, and just get back to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important part of this journey, is to really just remember how powerful you are. I just remember the impact that you are destined to create, along this beautiful journey called life.
Yeah. Beautiful how you're speaking to that so honestly. And I feel at the core of it is like a reframe of resistance. That resistance is part of the hero's path of living our destiny and living a purposeful life. That it's meant to be difficult. It's meant to be challenging.
Yeah.
It's meant to bring up all our inner worst fears and worries about what could happen. And then still knowing that I'm doing it anyway, despite the fear, despite those inner voices. Most of us, fortunately, we are not living in war anymore. Unfortunately, there's still too many wars on this planet. But there is still a war inside of ourselves where we have these strong internal forces of our true destiny, our calling, and what we have been programmed by the past. And that's real, I think, for anyone who's honest. And how do I show up as a warrior of the future, warrior of the light, to fight a righteous war and be honest with these inner forces? And then again and again choose, I'm going to do it anyway. And that's I admire anyone who's making this daily, who's fighting this daily war, so to speak, because oftentimes it's a silent war that nobody witnesses, that we do when we have our 3 a.m. moments. And then to wake up in the morning and said, I've thought about this enough. I know why I'm here, and I'm showing up, and I'm taking my next step, the next breadcrumb that's in front of me. I'm taking it because the universe is speaking to me and giving me clear signals.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, this work is needed more than ever before. People tuning into their divine purpose, showing up as their highest self, and really being a contribution to the planet is what is needed, because there is a real war happening, not just in the physical, but also I believe in the spiritual realm, in the astral realms, there is definitely a war happening. That's a whole other episode in itself. However, doing this work and helping people find their light, helping them find their strength and their gifts is a true blessing for the planet and for humanity. So, I thank you and acknowledge you for doing this work and for helping people, including, myself and many others that I know, to really tap into their true gifts and realize their full potential. And yeah, I just want to say thank you for that.
Yeah.
And for those who are interested in learning more about future self, for those who maybe have heard something during this podcast and they're feeling inspired and they want to meet their future self, how can people find you? How can people work with you? What is it that you're offering that can support people in really tapping into their future self and realizing their full potential?
Yeah, so we founded the Future Self Institute, and our mission is to support innovators and change makers to become the best versions of themselves and to create change that's bigger than themselves. So we are very welcoming to anyone who wants to work with us, who has a dream that goes beyond the next Ferrari and the next Gucci bag or designer jeans. We want to work with people who are here to make the world a better place while people do what they love. That's the vision. We all have a purpose, and why not marry purpose with purposeful work and positive impact in these critical times of humanity? So ways to engage, the easiest way is to Instagram, social media, Future Self Institute, or my personal account, Peter Opperman. We also have a website, futureselfinstitute.com. We have 8-week online containers, learning containers, a couple of times a year. Currently, we have a Futurepreneur Incubator program that's happening twice a year. That's kind of our best offering for people who really want to get super clear about what is my vision personally and professionally, and then with a dedicated group, a cohort and experts to take that clarity into action and build a prototype, whether that's in their career or in their personal lives. I also love to work with certain individuals one-on-one who have a big dream that they want to manifest and want to use the guidance of their future self to accelerate the manifestation of their dream. So we have that available, as well as recordings that are, to get a first experience of meeting your future self.
Amazing. Lots of options for people who are ready to do the work. So thank you for sharing all that. And last question, for someone out there who's watching this or listening to this, who wants to make that shift, they don't love their job, they're ready for a change, they might not even know what that change looks like, but they just know there's something else they're meant to be doing. What advice would you give them from your own journey of going from engineer to furniture maker to coach to now leading people through this Future Self program? What words of inspiration or guidance could you give that person who's at that point, they're ready?
I'd say you're already on your way. You're already doing it. That's the message from my future self, and I hear from many people. You're already on your way. All the steps that you have made have brought you to this moment to make a next even bigger step. So trust yourself. Don't be so critical, because we are all our own worst critic. And trust yourself, trust that inner silent voice that you may notice at the beach walk, or watching a sunset, or when you see great art, or when you journal in the morning, to really believe in your dreams and know that you came here for a reason. And even though the path forward may not be super clear, it's actually not meant to be super clear. that there will be a way for you to live the life of your dreams, to really have that faith.
Beautiful. Yeah. Love that. Powerful words, inspiring message. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for being here on the Pivot to Purpose podcast. It's been wonderful to sit down and hear your story again and learn more about you, the things you shared with me that I had no idea that you did that. So yeah, thank you for the work that you do. And yeah, I look forward to walking this path alongside you, my brother. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you to everybody watching. If you want to follow Peter, I'm going to put all of his information down below so you can learn more about the Future Self Institute and more about the magic that Mr. Opperman's creating in the world.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. All right, my man. Thank you.